I'm not new to the impact fee business. In Woodland, we have impact fees that collect quite a bit of money. I think that the fees have to be reviewed and reduced down to the amount that it actually takes to do this, not what someone wants to collect and put into the city or county coffers. You know, it's a tight world out there for money, and everybody is trying to survive. And if we want to grow our businesses, if we want to grow our cities and our counties, we have to look out for the people who are spending the money, not the people who are collecting it down in the local city or county office. I would have to say that to raise taxes in the climate that we're in now is almost suicidal. If some baseball organization wants a stadium, let them build it. If I can afford to pay the players $500,000 a year or $5 million a year or $10 million a year, then I should be able to afford to build a stadium. I don't think it's the responsibility of the average taxpayer that's making $30,000, $35,000, $25,000 a year, or even $40,000 a year to subsidize people who are making $500,000 or $5 million or $10 million a year. I just don't believe in that kind of economics. Each one has to pay for itself. Police and fire, those are things that I would have to study and look at to find out what the cost is per officer. If they're manned properly, if their expenditures are really directly related to their job, how much overhead do we have in these departments? How many people sitting at desks that really aren't accomplishing very much of a job, just paperwork? I'm not familiar with the city of Vancouver that much, so I would have to defer on some of that. I haven't seen a study yet. Say in Woodland, for instance, we had a study, and that study didn't work out, so we hired the same outfit to come back in and do another study at an additional price. So what do? Do you keep doing the studies until you get the one you want, or do you just face the facts that sometimes you can't afford to do the things that people want to do? The bus routes are a necessary route because a lot of people don't have cars. They can't afford to get from point A to point B without some sort of traffic, a bus or a streetcar or whatever have you. But I think that has to be studied carefully before you spend $2 or $3 million on it. I think C-Trans could be managed better if they studied the situation and come to the realization that we have to live within a certain budget. We cannot afford to lose that much per bus for operation just to keep it green. These hybrids are fine, but they're not effective yet. If it's not cost efficient, why force it down the citizen's throat to have them pay for something that we cannot afford as a society? Every cent we take away from the so-called citizens out here that are paying our bills, that $1 is $1 less that they have to go to the store and buy food, they have to buy clothes, to feed their kids, to do all the things that a family requires. I don't support it. You're talking about CRC, the Columbia River crossing. I do not support the light rail across there. It's very expensive, and in my judgment, I think the Columbia River crossing without their light rail is a farce because they're spending millions every year on this thing just in studies alone. I think that someone with common sense should come in and do a study that is more efficient than the ones they've had. Why are we spending so much money on getting light rail across the river whenever we need that money here at home? Now, everybody says we're using federal grants. Well, where do they think the federal money comes from? It comes from the same taxpayers that the state and the county and the city is getting theirs from. When do we stop taxing the average citizen and get a reality check? Building a new bridge at 192nd Street, I'd have to defer from that particular question because I'm not familiar with it, so I don't want to put out an answer that I'm not familiar with to a question. I-5 was necessary for transportation through the coast from California all the way from there up into Washington State. I don't support building a lot of the expansions on that because what we do is we do produce sprawl. California, whenever I got to California in 1951, they had one little freeway there. And now the whole state is ate up by freeways, and everywhere you go, people are building, and it's just sprawling out. It gets to where it's almost like a disease. It's uncontrollable. So I would say that trying to contain some of the sprawl within certain boundaries would be preferable to just letting it go. I would think that every dollar that the city takes in, the organization it goes to, whether it's transportation or whether it's repairing of the roads, water department or whatever, all of these individual little funds need to be monitored. Woodland is a very small town. We have about 5,500 people there in the population. We want to build, or the city council wants to build, some of the people want to build a 10,000 square foot police station. I granted that we need a police station, but we do not need a 10,000 square foot police station for 10 officers. That's a little bit more. By that same token, I'm against it, and I say I'm against it in the meetings that we have. The reason I say this is because I don't think that sometimes the people who want all of this stuff monitor the actual cost of running the city, what it costs on a day-to-day basis. Every time that they make a decision, they should make that decision based upon, is it going to cost more or is it going to cost less? Is it efficient or is it inefficient? What am I doing to citizens here? Am I operating in their best interest, or am I just thinking about what I want? And the same thing goes for Vancouver. I think it needs to be monitored very closely. Before I would vote for another tax increase on anything, I would simply say that I'd like to have an accounting of the money and where it's going now. And I think most people can sit down and figure out a way to take a lot of money out of their budget. No, I think we pretty much covered everything. The one thing that I do believe is that city government, the city council, the mayor, the county commissioners, everyone should be held responsible to the citizens of that particular area that they're getting voted in on. I think they should remember that they didn't vote to become little kings or something. They voted to be servants of the people, to do what the people asked them to do, and to vote in the best interest of the people. When they quit doing that, they're no longer public servants. Thank you.